Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Empty Talk video where I share my contemplative insights on a random topic. Today I thought I'll speak on a topic of anger and how the lack of awareness aggravates and amplifies anger, and with awareness in the moment where the thought of anger arises, how we can manage it better. So if we have to go back to the root of why we feel angry when something happens, its origins are in the tendencies that have been formed over the years, right? Growing up as a child, recall this, take a few moments after you finish listening to this video, and go back to your first encounter of the emotion of anger. What really happened there, and how you got to a point where you get angry really soon, and you cannot control your anger, or you are very easily angered, right? So here is what happened in the past is there has been moments in your life early on where you've kind of had certain expectations growing up as a child. Either you were a pampered child, or you were a child that was loved in school by the teachers and friends, and you were always happy, but some incidences happened where your expectations were not met either by your parents or your siblings or your friends or your teachers. And because there was this misalignment between what you were expecting and what actually happened, you became upset. And nobody really, handled that emotion of anger appropriately. And then you just felt that despair and that anger, and it stayed with you. And you continued to experience that. And you thought this is the only way to respond. If someone had at that point come and talked to you and explained why you don't need to respond with anger, how things can be talked out and worked out, you probably had created at that moment a different tendency. The tendency that not always everything is going to be according to my expectations. There are other perspectives, there are others' needs that need to be considered in a situation, and therefore we have to be accommodative, we have to be open, we have to be flexible, and not always angry. Probably that tendency would have formed if at that moment, that when that incident happened, somebody had given you that guidance. But since that did not happen, you went through a life situation where alignment between your expectations and reality did not happen. You gave rise to or birth to the tendency of anger. Now that continued through your life, and it just kept growing because every time that thought arises and expectations are not matched, that old tendency comes to surface, and then you respond with anger. And that became so deep rooted in your thought process, because lack of awareness of when the thought arises, what do we do? Because of the deep-rooted tendency, that anger pattern emerged and became a predominant part of your personality or behavior. So if you look back, all these different traits that you have, anger, jealousy, hatred, insecurity, fear, guilt, and so many other things that you're grappling with, the root of all of these is in the churning of thoughts or early experiences or first encounters early on in your life with these emotions, where you didn't get the right perspective, or you just kept churning thoughts in your head and believed them to be true and got fixated in your mind that this is how things should be. So having gone through that experience for so long, these are almost like cast in stone, cemented, very hardcore tendencies. So with that, now in today's life, when you encounter situations at home or at work, among friends and other places where situations where there's a lack of alignment between what you expect and what really happens, then anger comes out. So in those moments, here is what I recommend you should do. Become aware. Become aware of that thought, become aware of the emotion it is giving rise to, and then take a brief moment to think back. If the response I'm giving at this moment is really objective, is it fact-based, or is it just my tendency at play which is forcing me to behave or respond in a certain manner? 99% of the times you will find out that it's the tendency. So here is what you need to do at that moment. Recognize that I'm not going to respond to this situation based on my tendency. I'm going to take a brief pause, objectively evaluate what really happened here, and then after a delay of about 20-25 seconds, more or less depending upon where you are, what you're doing, what the situation is, the point is break that pattern, become aware. I'm not saying that all your anger issues will go away, or you'll not be frustrated, or you'll not be demotivated, or you'll not go through emotions which bring out all this negativity. You will continue to experience all of that all along, as long as you are among people of different consciousness levels, understanding levels. But what you can do is, you cannot control their behavior, the inputs that you're going to get from outside, but you can certainly control your responses to those situations. And the way to control that is become aware, introduce a delay, check if this response is going out from the tendency, or should I look at the facts and look at the situation very objectively and then respond from there. I promise, if you do this continuously with awareness, then one, your responses will change, or you will certainly be aware of how you're responding. And this new awareness will start to break away your past tendencies and replace them with newer tendencies, right? So the bottom line is, anger issues, frustration issues, demotivation issues, judgment issues, trust issues, all of these will continue to be there, but what will change is the amount of time you will take to come back from that anger to calmness, from that lack of trust to being objective, from that frustration to being calmer and being very fair and objective and cool in those situations. So that will be the shift. You won't become a saint overnight, but you will certainly have a better sense of control over your anger issues and other similar emotional traits. So check it out, try it, see if you can be aware in those moments and how it helps change the patterns. So that's the contemplative insight for today. I will talk to you again in another empty talk video. Until then, stay blessed. God bless you all, and love and peace. Bye-bye.